All right, welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're going to be cracking open a classic
Ooh, fun.
that's all about building better relationships.
Right.
And mastering the art of communication. How to win friends and influence people.
The classic.
I know it was first published way back in 1936.
Oh, that's,
But trust me, the wisdom in this book
yeah.
is like a fine wine. It just gets better with age.
You're absolutely right. This book has a timeless quality to it because it really gets to the core of human psychology.
Right.
And that hasn't changed much no matter what year it is.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Right.
One of the first things that really grabbed my attention was this whole idea of praising over criticizing.
Oh, interesting.
It sounds a little counterintuitive, right? Like even if you're trying to encourage someone to change, focusing on the positive is actually more effective.
It might seem strange at first.
Yeah?
But there's a real psychological reason behind it. When we criticize, we automatically put people on the defensive. It triggers this like natural instinct to protect their ego and justify their actions.
So instead of being open to change, they're more likely to just double down and resist.
Exactly.
Okay.
But when we offer genuine praise, it has the opposite effect. It inspires and motivates people to improve.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not saying we should sugarcoat things or avoid constructive feedback altogether. But the book argues that starting with praise can create a much more receptive environment for growth.
It's like that old saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Exactly.
Okay, so how would this actually work in practice?
Yeah.
Could you give us a concrete example?
Sure. Imagine you're a manager,
Okay.
and one of your team members consistently submits reports late. Instead of starting with criticism, you could say something like,
Okay.
I really appreciate the level of detail you put into these reports. They're incredibly thorough.
Good.
Next time, let's aim to have it in by deadline.
Right.
So we can all stay on schedule. That way you're acknowledging their effort while still addressing the issue in a positive way.
That's a really good point.
Right.
I can see how that would be much more motivating than just pointing out their lateness.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this idea of starting with praise to create a more positive and receptive atmosphere.
Yeah.
What's the next principle that jumped out at you?
Well, it reminds me of how excited a dog gets when you walk in the door. It's all about showing genuine interest in other people.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right.
It's like that pure, unadulterated joy.
Exactly.
So we need to channel our inner puppy dog enthusiasm when we're interacting with people.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
Remember, people are naturally more interested in themselves than in others.
Right.
To truly connect, we need to shift that focus outward.
Right.
The book offers some really practical tips for doing this.
Right.
Things like offering a genuine smile, remembering and using people's names, and asking open-ended questions that show you're interested in their experiences and perspectives.
Those are all such simple things.
Yeah.
But I bet they make a huge difference in how people feel.
They do.
I mean, who doesn't love it when someone remembers their name right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really can have an impact. There's this great anecdote in the book about a landscaping inspector who, just by showing a genuine interest in his client's passion for dog breeding, ended up receiving a purebred puppy as a gift.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh.
I guess sometimes the simplest gestures can really go a long way.
They do.
Okay, so we've got praising over criticizing and showing genuine interest. What's next on the list?
This one might surprise you.
Okay.
It's about being a good listener.
Okay. I could definitely see how that ties into showing genuine interest.
Yeah.
If you're really listening, you're clearly engaged with the other person. But honestly, it's something I struggle with sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to jump in with my own thoughts and stories.
It's a common challenge.
Yeah.
We all crave to be listened to and understood. And active listening is one of the most powerful ways to validate others and make them feel seen and respected.
So what makes someone a good listener?
Yeah.
Is it just about being quiet and letting the other person talk?
Well, it's more than just not interrupting. It's about truly paying attention to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally.
Okay.
It's about asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you've heard, and showing empathy for their perspective.
Right.
It's about making them feel like their thoughts and feelings matter.
I've heard it said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
That's great.
Maybe that's why Theodore Roosevelt was such a master.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At building relationships. He was known to study up on the interests of his guests before meetings.
Wow.
So that he could have engaging conversations with them.
He understood that finding common ground
Yeah.
and showing genuine curiosity were key to connecting with people on a deeper level.
That's fascinating.
It's something we can all practice in our daily interactions.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to dominate the conversation, we can make a conscious effort to ask thoughtful questions, listen attentively, and really try to understand where the other person is coming from.
That's a great point. It's a simple shift in focus.
Yeah.
But it can have a profound impact on our relationship.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, the book also delves into the art of persuasion.
Oh, interesting.
And one of the most intriguing takeaways is this idea that it's not about winning arguments or proving people wrong.
Right.
It's about getting them to say yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how do we do that without resorting to manipulation or trickery?
Well, the book talks about a technique that goes all the way back to Socrates.
Oh, wow.
He was a master at leading people to his desired conclusion by starting with points they would readily agree with.
Okay.
And then gradually building his case from there.
Interesting.
The idea is to avoid making people feel cornered or attacked.
So instead of saying you're wrong, you find something you can agree on and then build from there.
Exactly. It's a much more subtle approach, but it can be incredibly effective.
Interesting.
The book tells this fascinating anecdote about Colonel Edward M. House, who was a close advisor to President Woodrow Wilson. He was known for his ability to subtly plant ideas in Wilson's mind. Wow. Leading the president to believe they were his own.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can make someone feel like they came up with the idea themselves, they're kind of more likely to be on board with it.
Right. Absolutely.
But it also makes me wonder about the ethics of it all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is there a fine line between persuasion and manipulation?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that deserves careful consideration.
Right.
There's definitely a risk of crossing that line if we're not mindful of our intentions and approach.
Yeah.
But I think the key here is to always operate from a place of respect and authenticity.
So we're not trying to trick people or coerce them into doing something they don't want to do.
Exactly.
We're simply trying to frame our ideas in a way that resonates with their values and beliefs and helps them see the benefit.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about guiding, not forcing.
Right.
If we can help someone arrive at a conclusion organically, they're much more likely to embrace it as their own.
That's such a powerful insight.
It is.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Good.
What other gems of wisdom does this book have in store for us?
Let's keep going. Well, this next principle really resonated with me.
Okay.
It's about the importance of empathy, not just as a nice thing to do, but as a powerful tool in navigating disagreements and building consensus.
Okay. I'm intrigued. We often hear about empathy.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how it plays out in the context of winning friends and influencing people.
Yeah.
It feels almost counterintuitive. Right?
I know, right?
Like, shouldn't we be focusing on asserting ourselves and getting our point across?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But the book makes a compelling case for empathy as a secret weapon.
Interesting.
It's about understanding the other person's perspective, their needs, and their motivations, even if you don't agree with them.
So it's not just about being nice or agreeable.
Right.
It's about understanding where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
Absolutely. There's a story in the book about an elevator repairman, Jay Mangum, who needed to convince a hotel manager to shut down the elevator.
Oh, boy.
For a full day for repairs.
It's going to be a tough one.
Now you can imagine.
Yeah.
The manager wasn't too thrilled about that.
No. I can't imagine that going over well.
Disrupting guests and all.
Right.
He wanted to limit the downtime to just a couple of hours.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for a clash of priorities.
For sure.
So how did Jay win him over?
Instead of arguing or getting defensive, Jay put himself in the manager's shoes.
All right.
He acknowledged the manager's concern about keeping the guests happy.
Right.
And then explained how postponing a full repair would likely lead to even more disruptions and inconvenience down the line.
So by showing that he understood the manager's perspective, he was able to persuade him to see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
And agree to the full repair.
It's about finding that common ground and building a bridge instead of putting up walls.
Right.
And that's the beauty of empathy. It allows us to connect with people on a human level.
Right.
And find solutions that work for everyone involved.
Okay. I can definitely see how that's a more effective strategy than just trying to bulldoze your way through.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What else did you glean from this book?
This next principle delves into the power of positive expectations.
Okay.
And the idea of aspirational reputations.
Interesting.
It suggests that people often rise to meet the expectations we set for them.
Okay.
Especially when those expectations are positive and empowering.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on someone's past mistakes or shortcomings, we should try to see their potential.
Yes.
And encourage them to strive for something better.
Precisely.
Okay.
There's this heartwarming story in the book about a teacher, Ruth Hopkins, who completely transformed the behavior of a troubled student named Tommy.
Oh, wow.
He had a reputation for being disobedient and disruptive.
Right.
But instead of writing him off, Ruth decided to approach him with a different mindset.
So what did she do?
Yeah.
Did she lay down the law?
Nope.
And threaten him with punishment?
Not at all.
Okay.
On the very first day of class, she pulled Tommy aside and told him that she had heard he was a natural-born leader and that she was counting on him to set a good example for the other students.
Wow, that's a bold move.
It was.
Did it work?
It did.
Did Tommy actually change his behavior?
Tommy was so touched by Ruth's belief in him that he completely turned his behavior around.
That's amazing.
He became a model student.
Wow.
And even started helping other students who were struggling.
That's incredible. It really speaks to the power of belief.
It does.
And the impact we can have on others when we choose to see the best in them.
It really does.
I'm starting to see a theme here.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of these principles are about shifting our mindset and approaching our interactions with more understanding and empathy.
You're absolutely right. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone,
Okay.
even those who might seem difficult or challenging.
Right.
And this brings us to the final principle we'll discuss today, the power of a challenge.
The challenge. So are we talking about like tough love?
Not exactly.
No.
It's more about tapping into people's natural desire to achieve and excel.
Okay.
The book suggests that rather than focusing on punishments or reprimands, we should look for opportunities to inspire and challenge people to bring out their best.
So instead of saying, if you don't do this, you'll get in trouble, we should frame it as a challenge or an opportunity for growth.
Exactly.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Most people are naturally competitive.
Right.
They want to prove themselves, and they thrive on a sense of accomplishment.
Right.
So if we can tap into that drive, we can unlock a whole new level of motivation.
So it's about framing things in a way that sparks their enthusiasm and makes them want to rise to the occasion.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it doesn't always have to be about grand gestures or elaborate competitions. Sometimes even a simple acknowledgement of a job well done can go a long way.
It's like that feeling you get when someone genuinely notices and appreciates your effort.
Absolutely.
It can be incredibly motivating.
And public recognition can be even more powerful.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Think about how companies use Employee of the Month awards or shout-outs in team meetings. It's a simple way to boost morale and encourage healthy competition.
Those are great points.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how all of these principles weave together to create a more positive and productive approach to interacting with others.
Yeah.
It's not about manipulation or control.
Right.
It's about understanding human nature.
Yeah.
And tapping into those intrinsic motivations that drive us all.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about building genuine connections, fostering a sense of shared purpose, and inspiring others to become the best versions of themselves.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
Yeah, I think so too.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on how to build stronger relationships and communicate more effectively.
And the best part is that these principles are applicable in all areas of life.
Right.
Whether you're dealing with colleagues, clients, friends, or family members, these timeless techniques can help you navigate the complexities of human interaction with more grace and understanding.
It's like having a secret decoder ring.
Exactly.
For human behavior.
And remember, it's not about becoming a master manipulator or using these techniques to get what you want at the expense of others.
No, absolutely not.
It's about using this knowledge to build bridges, create win-win situations, and foster a more positive and harmonious world.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into how to win friends and influence people, I want to leave our listener with a little challenge.
Okay, I like it.
Think about one relationship in your life that could benefit from a little TLC.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a coworker you've been clashing with or a friend you haven't connected with in a while.
Good example.
And ask yourself, how can I apply one of these principles to improve that relationship?
That's a great question.
Could a little more praise, genuine interest, or empathy make a difference?
Those are really all it takes sometimes.
That's a great question to ponder. We encourage you to put these timeless techniques into practice and see the positive ripple effects they create in your life.
Yeah.
And until next time, happy connecting.